We are a really exciting threshold. Over 60% of Seattle residents eligible for vaccines have received their first dose at least. That's a great threshold. When we opened our facilities, I said I wanted to be the first city in America to get fully vaccinated, to get 70% of people eligible. We are so close. There's only one city that we know is ahead of us, and that's San Francisco. So if there's no other reason to get your vaccination so we can beat San Francisco. We also know that our vaccine distribution has been one of the most equitable in the nation, and you're going to hear from two of our great partners in that. And the reason why we are so successful is because of our community-based organizations who have made sure they've not only advocated for their communities, but have been there to support us in getting people vaccinated. And we continue to, I think, be one of the leaders in the nation to make sure a disproportionate number of our vaccines are going into black and brown arms because we're intentional about making sure the vaccine goes to the places and the communities that have been most at risk and most excluded from the system. We still have walk-ups. So right here at Rainier Beach, there's no more beautiful vaccination spot in the country. If you're 60 or older, you can walk up without an appointment, you'll get vaccinated. And there's more. If you bring the person that's 60 and older and you haven't been vaccinated, you can get vaccinated. We also are going to try to extend on a pilot our evening hours at a few locations here in West Seattle, because we know there's people who are working during the day and can't get to one of our sites for vaccination. So we want to make it as easy as possible. I can't talk about vaccinations without talking about our Seattle Fire Department. They have been so remarkable since the beginning of this pandemic. First setting up a national leading testing program, but then in vaccinations going to our senior adult homes, going to our low-income homes, setting up these sites. And so Chief Scoggins, a particular thanks to you for your work and for all the work of the men and women of the fire department. And because we got to get everyone vaccinated, we're going to be innovative and creative about how we do it. And not just joining with community-based organizations, going to places where people are. So this weekend, we're going to try something new. If you're going to the Sounders game and you haven't been vaccinated, we will have walk-up vaccinations with the Seattle Fire Department at the Sounder games. Make sure you bring your ID, and we're going to try everything we can. And so with that, I want to thank everyone for being here again. Thank the Secretary particularly for all his efforts. Congratulate him on his work. We're lucky to have someone in that role who's not just an exceptional leader, but who understands the challenges that actually face cities, particularly cities on the West Coast. So we know that we'll have a great partnership throughout the Biden administration with him. And with that, I'll turn this over to Chief Scoggins. Thank you very much.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harold Scoggins, Fire Chief of the Seattle Fire Department. I'd like to thank the mayor for her ongoing leadership during this pandemic. It's truly made a difference. And I also like to thank our firefighters who are boots on the ground every single day serving the community. It was June 5th of 2020 when we opened our first testing site, and now we have we had four of them we were operating. Over 735,000 people have been tested at our testing sites. And now since January 14th, our Seattle firefighters have been doing vaccinations. And to date, over 88,000 vaccinations have been given. And we've, I think, done the hard work. That's really important. Our mobile vaccination teams, and we've had 4 of them working. Some of you saw pictures when they were out in the snow. They've visited over 220 different locations delivering the vaccinations. So as the mayor mentioned, we're going to be doing a couple of things. So next week, Tuesday, May 4th, right here, this site is going to be open until 7:30 in the evening, trying to get those folks who work during the day. So we're going to test that out and see if we can get people here. And our West Seattle site on Wednesday, May 5th, it's going to be open until 7:30 in the evening. That's really important because the mayor mentioned our new programs. If you're 60 or older, you can actually just walk up and we're going to figure out a way to get you vaccinated. We have enough doses. And if you're 16 or older and you bring someone who's 60 or older, no appointment needed, we're also going to take care of you there. And as the mayor mentioned, we're getting creative. We'll be at the Sounders game, go Sounders, rooting for them, trying to get the win. but our firefighters are going to be there, boots on the ground, in 2 separate locations, ready to vaccinate people in that space also. So we're really trying to meet people where they are, to deliver the vaccinations in just an equitable way and get our community reopened. We're getting really close. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're really excited about where we're going. So next, I would like to bring up Executive Dow Constantine to address the group. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief. And thanks to everyone for being here today. I especially want to thank Secretary Becerra for being here as well, and for getting a chance to see up close what a coordinated whole of community response looks like. You know, the partnerships across King County, partnerships between cities, between first responders, between public and private health systems, have just been remarkable. We have all really been pulling together to work together to defeat this pandemic. And because we have worked together, we're making remarkable progress. This week, we crossed a couple milestones, and I want to tell you about them countywide. For the first time, we received more than 200,000 doses of vaccine in this county. That is more than double what we had been getting in mid-March. And with those new doses and our progress, more than half of the people of King County, not just of the adults, more than half of the entire population of King County, when you count it all together, has had 1 dose of vaccine, and more than 40% of people, 750,000 of those eligible, are now fully vaccinated. Our remarkable progress would not have been possible without the leadership of the Biden administration. This has been like night and day. Having lived through a year of this, tried to lead this jurisdiction through a year of this without a whole lot of help coming from the White House, without really a roadmap, to have a strong federal partner has made all the difference. And I want to thank Secretary Becerra again on behalf of everyone in King County for supporting our efforts. Now, that incredible effort that's happening here in Seattle and at clinics all across King County is really a product of an entire community deciding that we are going to get through this and get through it together. Earlier this week, in fact, at the far other end of the county, in the north end, we were able to open with the University of Washington a clinic in Shoreline to serve communities across the north tier of King County. And earlier, together with our public health clinics on the east side and South King County, we were able to announce that we have been able to provide vaccines because of this increase in the number of doses we're getting to every single provider in the county that has requested them. Large providers, mass vac sites, but also small pharmacies and individual health providers who have constituencies that they can bring in and get vaccinated, people who might not have been connected to other systems. And it's never been more important than it is now to get to a clinic. You've heard me over the last few weeks. You're going to hear me again and again in the coming days. This is a race between the vaccine and the virus. And right now, the virus is catching back up. Yes, we're having great success getting shots in arms, but these new variants, they're more contagious, and they have more severe impacts. So the number of infections is still going up, even though the number of people who've been vaccinated is going up. The number of people being hospitalized, particularly those 16 to 34, is increasing. I would just remind everyone what we've been telling you all along, which is please wear a mask. Don't be cooped up with those you don't live with. And please, please, please stay home if you're sick. And most important now, get to a clinic and get your shot. The virus in America, the first outbreak, started right here in King County, right across this lake in a Kirkland nursing home. We were hit first, but this community worked together and listened to science, and we successfully went from being the epicenter of the outbreak to having the lowest rate of infection and death of any major jurisdiction in this country. It is something that truly can be credited to all the people of King County. We know how to beat the virus, And with the incredible vaccines that we have a good tool to do that, but it's on every single one of us to do their part. Nobody else can get your vaccine for you. You've got to step up. And that's why I'm pleased to announce today that our mass vaccination clinics in Auburn and in Kent are available for walk-up appointments. If you need to go get a shot, if you find yourself with some time, if you haven't made an appointment, we're setting aside 1,000 shots at each one of those clinics for you. So just go there and get those shots. It will help us bring closer the end of this pandemic for everyone. Let's all do our part, and let's win this one for King County. And now, speaking of the providers who are helping get the shots out, one of our strong partners has been the International Community Health Services, and I'd like to introduce the CEO of that great community organization, Teresita Batiola.
Thank you so much, County Executive Dow. Hang on. I'm so used to being with a mask that it's hard for me to think about being without it. Welcome to Secretary Becerra and to the Mayor and Council Member Jayapal. I'm so honored to be here with you, and you've got your vaccine warrior team right here. So proud to be here. International Community Health Services is a federally qualified health center providing affordable, quality medical, dental, and behavioral health services to everyone, regardless of status. Our patients are predominantly low income and from communities of color, and we provide them with wraparound service that helps them with their housing, with their food, with their education access, and anything else that they would need to make their life better. Interesting that Executive Dow referred to the first COVID-19 positive case that we had here in King County, which was associated with a nursing home in Kirkland. ICHS was the first health center in the entire country among over 1,400 health centers to have its first positive case, and that case was associated with that nursing home, the epicenter for not just our state, but the country for several months. It was very difficult in those days because there was very little guidance, and we are so fortunate that we have top flight staff, top flight providers who figured out what was going on and made sure that our staff had the appropriate PPE. And since then, our community health center has pivoted repeatedly to be able to provide care for our community against COVID-19. We ramped up drive-up testing. We provided care to those who are not COVID positive, or even those COVID positive but recovering from home, through telehealth and telephone. We provided food. We delivered medication, other life essentials to patients, their families, and other community members to be part of the solution, part of that front line against COVID. And today, we are very active vaccinators. In January this year, ICHS was a fierce advocate to make sure that vaccines were available, rare, scarce vaccines were available to our communities which were disproportionately affected. And I hate to admit it, but a couple of the elected officials here got a lot of pestering calls from me. But we were the better for it because we started to get supply. But what really helped out ICHS and the communities that we serve is that Secretary Becerra and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services started to send dedicated vaccines direct from the federal government to community health centers. ICHS was one of the first 25 in the entire country that received those doses specifically to address those communities who are falling through the cracks, the communities who are most disproportionately affected, communities of color. We are working hard and fast to make sure that we're vaccinating people as fast as possible. We have a couple of different strategies. We have clinic-based vaccination sites in Holly Park, which is not too far from here, Chinatown International District, Bellevue, and Shoreline. We also have community pop-up sites with partners so that we can get out there and make sure no one is falling through the cracks. We have had partners like affordable housing for seniors, such as Wisteria Manor, faith-based groups like Betsuin Buddhist Temple, the Muslim Community and Neighborhood Association, and the Evangelical Chinese Church, and community groups like Skipda and El Centro de la Raza, who is present here today. Language, the internet, and convenience became barriers of the past. And as you heard today, with our mobility, with the mobility of our vaccine warriors, we are making sure that accessibility to all is possible. So far, ICHS has vaccinated over 22,000 people against COVID-19. We've educated communities about vaccine safety, and we are mobilized now to address vaccine hesitation more and more. And we've conducted over 85,000 tests, and we continue to provide care not just to those who are concerned or affected by COVID, but also to all of our patients whose health has deteriorated, whether it's medical, dental, or behavioral health, because of COVID-19. So to those who are still waiting, to those who want to see how this is going, we urge you to get vaccinated. There are enough supply to vaccinate those people who want to get vaccinated. And if you've been vaccinated, I urge you to get 5 other people to get vaccinated. 3 vaccine brands are readily available. So, Americans want choices all the time. Hey, now you've got flavors, right? 3 different vaccines. You can no longer say that it is inconvenient, because not only can you get it through the fire department, through mass vaccination sites, through community health centers, through hospitals, you can go to your grocery store, you can go to your drugstore. Location options are always around, and if you're interested in finding about where they are, little plug for City of Seattle, www.seattle.gov. And then, of course, ICHS, www.ichs.com for vaccinations, for a more intimate experience than a mass vaccine site. Again, this is a race against COVID and its variants, so we need to win the race. One thing for sure, healthcare is a human right. It is my privilege to be able to introduce someone who is fighting to make sure every single one of us has access to health care. So I introduce to you my Congresswoman, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
Thank you so much, Teresita, for the incredible work that you have always done. I am so proud of our community health centers, because these are the places where people know and trust their folks at the community health centers. They know they can go there and they are going to be provided with culturally relevant, appropriate information and everything that they need to really make them feel at home. So I'm grateful to you, and so not surprised at all that you were one of the first 25. Let me just start by saying, Mr. Secretary, it is such a pleasure and privilege to welcome you to Seattle. You are standing now in what is the most diverse zip code in the country. I want you to know that because you have spent your life fighting for diverse communities, and we are just so proud to have you